Welcome to the Pyramid Meditation channel. My name is ILONA SELKE, and I will be presenting here for you today in honor of the International Yoga Day, the 21st of June. And I'm very honored to have been invited in association with the Pyramid Spiritual Society, founded and developed by Patriji, and with such luminaries as the Arkartikayan, a saint in my eyes, as well as Yasmuhin and many other luminaries who will all be speaking about the many meanings and experiences that we can have in meditation and what it is to evolve consciousness and what we can do to improve our evolution here as humans in this lifetime. Today, I'm going to speak to you about yoga of the soul. As we in the West typically have come to associate yoga with hatha yoga, which is the exercise and stress relieving kind of yoga, maybe even breath related yoga, I want to share with you the aspects that in traditional Hindu societies were known to be the yoga of consciousness. We had many different avenues. Some were using more the mental mind to gain understanding and insight into the inner dimensions. I want to take you on a journey of discovering what it means to truly have yoga of your soul. Yoga means the union, it's the merging, and implied in merging and union is taking two into one. Whether you take the body, mind, spirit into unity and ascend to the source, or if you think of parts of emotions within you merged into singularity to make the next step in ascension, or whether you are merging your consciousness with the source into oneness, or as I found in a beautiful text in Tantric Buddhism, one time when I asked the universe, what do I need to know? I went to a presentation where the monks were making one of those sand mandalas, and I mentally asked the universe, what do I need to know? And it works, right? You ask a question, you direct it to the center of the universe, and an answer comes to you. And I was guided to walk to the center of the building inside, and there was a bookcase, a glass shelf bookcase. I opened it up. I took out a book. I opened the book, and I read, the fastest way to enlightenment is where two merge into one. Yoga of the soul. Now, in my book, which has that same title, Yoga of the Soul, the main title is Dolphins, Love, and Destiny. I speak about the many stages that we go through from, and I will go with you in a moment through some of these stages, from heightened states of consciousness to supremely more and more enlightened states of consciousness that I describe and give exercises and give techniques in. So on this path today with you, describing the yoga of the soul, I want to ask you and go with you through a couple of stages of consciousness based on the following understanding. See, we all are sure we sit here within a body. We have or we are a body depending on how you look at life. Needless to say, we're here and we have perception. And we also know that's not all there is. Higher invisible laws are guiding life. And we are trying to discover what those are. And even the parts of us that function at these higher states of consciousness are functioning even when we're not totally aware. But gaining awareness of those levels and sharpening the seat of our soul into a brilliant diamond. That's at the heart of our quest for all of you, for all of us here speaking. All of us are here to improve our capacity to be a reflection of the divine embodied here on earth, or having our access channel clear. Now, I remember when I went to a lecture where Dr. Vern Wolf was speaking, about whom I also write in my books. He said to me, you have a higher self, right? Yes. Go into your higher self right now. And I'm like, okay. So let's do that right now, because I'm going to show you while we speak, we go through experiences and work our way through different layers of perception and experiences and yoke our awareness into union with the singularity that opens naturally up to each one of us once we know the passage. Now, when you go into your higher self, I want you to do that right now as we're listening, talking together. You can close your eyes for a moment if you just want to feel how you would be in your imaginary higher self. What would you become? How would you be? And the first thing that you probably will do is create a feeling of being inside that higher self of yours. In seminars, when I teach it, what people describe typically is like becoming angelic, becoming greater, radiant, stronger, vibrant, more gifted, more compassionate, more loving, maybe more quiet, whatever it is. It may even have a dress on or may not. It may have colors. It has qualities that you can feel and that you can walk yourself into. I always say it's creating a holy space in your temple of being. The seat of our being is working in this dimension, right? So now let's understand that not everything is just physical and that not everything is even our higher self. Our higher self is occupying what we would call the astral dimension, the energetic dimension, the blueprint of energy that then expresses itself through our chakras. Now, we will go up. Let's do it together. Let's occupy our beingness that we would take on if we were a crystalline structure, the next level up in frequency. I'm giving you a little map through experiences. I could draw it. I will hopefully be able to add this here into the video. The fact that we consist out of these many layers of frequencies, and our yoking ourselves into singularity needs the understanding that in the beginning, the greater pyramid of being, we have duality, we have form, shape. You have a body, you sit on a chair, you are in a room, you are in time-space. Now with your higher self, you enter into a fluidum of time-space that can see at a distance. You can do remote viewing with that energy body. You occupy a greater field. It's greater than your physical body. At times, you can even direct it into a different dimension of time-space, the past, the future, or even another location. Now, let's move, as I said, to a crystalline structure, the equivalent of your mental body. If you were pure crystalline light lines, and illuminated these light lines of consciousness, no longer having your angelic self, but becoming a brilliant crystalline structure. If you start imagining that, what shape or form, colors, crystalline presence would you start emanating? What in a finer form of pure geometry would you become part of? A mandala of creation. And as you go with me, I'd like you to just start focusing outside of your energy, but rather into a field of knowingness, the Akashic records, and beyond the causal realities, the pure structural dimension that is beyond your higher self. All right, so we can tell that in the physical, in the higher self, in the crystalline structures, we take on different vibratory states, but it's almost as if we're lifting into a finer and finer version of ourselves. There comes a place where you start becoming, like say, a part of a group soul, or part of an archetype, part of a stream of being. You take on the core energy of an entire larger field. It's like you're climbing into the closer center of a beam that recedes into the center of the apex of the pyramid. And as you do, the apex of the pyramid comes to the apex, to the very tipping point where it leaves the dimension of time-space, where if you go beyond, or if you go outside, and I like to imagine it as a point above my head. It really isn't a point outside of the body in that sense, but it is a pure space where you start noticing you plop into a space that is beyond time-space. Now you can imagine receding to the top of a pyramid and then out. Outside of that form of dimension of polarity into pure isness. And in the first level of entering pure non-dual awareness, which is not a mental concept, is not what I hear so many neo-Advaitaists talking about. It's not something, it's not the absence of duality. It is the essence of the beginning of the source of all that is. It is in your meditations, if you want to explore and deepen that, or you've already gone there, it's when we go beyond into a singularity. And now I told you the story of the Tibetan book saying the fastest way to enlightenment is to merge two into one. Now, in your meditation, I like to address all these levels, not just simply go straight to 0 point. I have trained to do that. I can do that. However, it is really important, and I need it on a daily basis, to be able to address my emotional body, my stress levels. I need to do my physical yoga, my breath work, to calm down my system, to address my maybe emotions that get triggered by events which are the growing structure for my soul to evolve, for my compassion to develop, for my wisdom to get sharpened. But when I choose another, and that could be a divine deity if you wanted to, but it could be God, as the source. If you aim yourself into singularity with that which you return your gaze into, the universe starts looking from created into creation, through into the 0 point itself. It becomes full circle. You do the greatest service to the divine. You become one with the source. And that is the beginning of a journey where it starts teaching us. It starts yoking us into greater and greater capacity of singularity. And in my book, Yoga of the Soul, Dolphins, Love and Destiny, and my book, Wisdom of the Dolphins, by the way, I want to let you know, thank you to the PMS movement, is translated into Hindi and Telugu, Wisdom of the Dolphins. I speak about some of these techniques of how to address the duality of your emotions and the future and the past, and how to become a master being of consciousness that realizes that everything we meet outside of us is a reflection of a state within. And if you see within the change, and if you become the blueprint of heaven on earth inside, that is what you will see outside manifest around you. You may change your location, you may change friends, you eventually will be in a space where what you see is a reflection of your true heaven on earth. It's an evolutionary process, just like enlightenment. There is no finite point of arrival. Now, when we work with a master or work with masterful beings, oftentimes people take this imaginary other and merge with them. And in my book, Yoga of the Soul, I say, take your beloved, or take a beloved angelic master being in your mind, a master you know or a master you make up, and start realizing that both of you are, and let's go there together, beyond time-space. You are in a singularity. You enter beyond no mind into the first dimension where you are beyond time-space, and you start expanding. Even though it isn't a space, it is like your seat of the soul starts taking the first step into the Brahmic dimension. And when you do, and that's what we do in our life, we create a greater coherence at another level of consciousness. And as we do, we have to master our emotional, physical body. I've been a vegetarian since I became adult, since I turned 19, and I just celebrated my 60th birthday. And I am sure you are probably a vegetarian too, as you're watching this. If you're not yet, I encourage you to enter the path of the kindest, compassionate thing you can do for this world. Whether you want to help global warming to be less of an issue, or the killing of millions of animals that are killed daily to feed humanity. If you want to be a truly spiritual being, start with your nutrition. Eat well, eat clean food, drink water, do yoga, do your breath work, connect with God. But in that, let me just repeat the triangle of evolutionary steps. Having the physical is one level, the emotional intactness and dealing with the challenges we come up with is another form of yoga of our emotions. The yoga of our mind is also being able to hold polarities in our mind and not fight the opposites, and realize that beyond that is a next higher truth. That if you've mastered the polarities, you look with equanimity at the two opposites and you become the master being, transcending this duality, and you sit in the dimension of singularity and realize that the drama of life, whoever is running the show or fighting or this, yes, it is important that you do the right thing here on this earth. But it is equally important that you realize that from another dimension, the source point is beyond the fight of good and evil. It's that you become the master co-creator with the divine and the channel for that pure essence. So let's go again. Creating the singularity point may require that you start with your quieting your mind, the breath work, cleaning up your emotional body. I have a technique that I would like you to just practice with me for 5 minutes that I explain in my books more at detail. My children's book, Alin Learns to Use His Imagination, is also available in India on Amazon.in in Hindi. And it comes with an app with guided meditations for your children to learn to deal with emotional duality, to come into that center next level of ascension. And I remember when the first time I met Patrickji, we were invited to meditate, and we were told by some other friends to absolutely come to this one small pyramid in Kurnool. And we went. There we would find a real master, we were told. And when Don and I went, we went with a group of Japanese people. We'd been giving seminars in Japan, and we were accompanied on a tour to meet Indian saints. And we sat down in this pitch black pyramid. And we were told that the master was not responsible today, not there. So we sit down and meditate. And this auspicious sound of Bansuri flute is playing. And I am in this meditation where this Bansuri player clearly understands that we move through layers, finer and faster, and deeper, finer layers. And we were sitting in a pyramid, and I remember the picture, he's like pulls us out through the tip of the pyramid and says, "Phew, now get the others, get the others." There was a moment where in that pitch black darkness, this intense wave of shock came from this flute player, and I'm like going, this being is enlightened. And when that happened, I looked and opened, and this being, man, had a big glowing yellow golden aura. Now, what I found out later, this was Patrickji, and the message that he gave us that was and is to to this date. Very important. I'm going to add a little story to what he said to us. He said, be the master. So in our meditations, when we take on a mastership energy, we create a higher self. We create the blueprint of crystalline functioning consciousness. We enter the realm and go beyond the mind, the archetype, and then tap the dimension outside of time and space. And from there, you focus into merging with the divine. Enlightenment and heightened states of beingness, the seat of our soul, is an ever refinement process. There is no finite, you've got it, you're enlightened, this is it, stages thereof. And sometimes we read, our seat of the soul is there, but our emotional body cries out for water and we need to drink some water. But the truth of the matter is, all of creation started at the source. And it's calling each one of us back to that yoked point of eternity. But you are the eyes and hands of God here in this dimension, and you return your gaze to itself. You as itself is looking at itself. You complete the circle, the union of consciousness that is manifest to consciousness or the supreme that is unmanifest. And in that moment, the greatest love affair of the universe takes place, and we are showered with love, with directiveness, and that is an ongoing journey. A friend of mine, a beautiful soul, a woman from Germany, died at age 40, and I accompanied her in her death time, and she went into the light, and she became a luminous being. But over the next following year that she transcended form, she became finer and more and more and more refined. In the end, I only perceived her as an intense beacon of a diamond light. She had transcended out of identifying with form or ego structure, or I am this, I radiate like this. She had become the supreme diamond of her level of coalesced, focused consciousness. And the last message she transmitted to me, that she could still get down into time and space, and I still get goosebumps, was have absolute certainty. If I were to use a negative statement, I would say allow no doubt. But, if I have to say allow no doubt, I have to think of what is doubt, and allow no doubt, absolute certainty. Absolute single-minded entrance into whatever it is that you, in your ultimate state of consciousness, wish to reach. That stillness that reaches and reaches, and then is greeted by the unity of all that is, and then is taken up into itself. And it's a simultaneous allness and a simultaneousness of stillness and oneness. And I am that. These stages take time. We all wish to have an instantaneous form of enlightenment. And essentially, all we need to do is remember that state of complete union with the source is available to any of us, but we always still maintain this form. And this form is in the dual world. This mind that remembers and goes into meditation, when you're watching, is still a dual form. So it's like, you can be torn between, I don't want to remember anything, I'll just go. But many people then just go, become absent-minded, and actually maybe just flatline at the astral level. Just go, or, different layers and different schools of thought get us to different results. And what I'm trying to explain to you today is something I'd like to invite you now in a meditation, one that gets to share move duality into singularity, and then the next level of moving yourself into singularity through the yoking of you and another. So I'd like to invite you now to close your eyes. We have another 15 minutes left approximately, so it won't be a very long exercise, but very potent 2 points you can remember. One, what to do with your emotional world, and remembering that when two come into one, opposites within yourself, you transcend into the next evolutionary level. And when you do that from the seat of your soul and pick another diamond of consciousness, when you move into singularity, it moves you up into the field where the divine takes you into its heart. All right, go ahead, come along with me on a journey and close your eyes. And for a moment, just take the yogic breath. Do some 1 minute of alternate nostril breathing. Breathing in deeply into your third eye, holding the breath, and exhaling with the other nostril. Holding your breath and breathing back in. Breathing all into your third eye and beyond. Holding, switching your finger and breathing back out. For all of you listeners in India, you think this is, everybody should know, but my mom taught me when I was 5 years old, yes, but not everybody knows and not everybody understands the yogic breath in. Holding for an equal amount of time the in-breath, switching your finger, breathing out. Holding your breath. Breathing in through the same nostril. Switching your finger and breathing out. You can continue doing this for another moment if you'd like, or let your hands rest in your lap. I'd like you to think of a moment this past day or a couple of days this week where something happened that wasn't going the way you really wanted it to go. Maybe some emotions came up, some disturbance came up, or you felt angry, sad, hurt. Think of a moment where something didn't go as well as you wanted it. And then I'd like you to remember your feelings. Remember the feelings you had in that moment. Where in your body did you feel the feelings the most? If it was anger, it most likely was in your belly. If it was sadness, maybe in your heart. Where did you feel the disturbance? If you tune in now for a moment. Might have been in several places, but usually it's somewhere in our chakra system. All right, just take a moment and feel into it and notice whether it's more in the front or in the back. And I'd like you to ask this energy if it had the most beautiful outcome of what it actually really wanted. Because all, even the most negative energies, in the end, want a most profound outcome at its highest. What would you have really liked to become, be, or experience? If you had already received that which you truly wanted, what would that be? And I'd like you to just for a moment get a feeling for that. How would that have felt? how would you have become? How would your auric body feel if you had that wish fulfilled? And then I'd like you to feel that negative energy, maybe give it a color that you started out with. Maybe it was a brown thing or a crumply thing, whatever it was, that energy that wasn't feeling so good. And now in your other conscious mind or in your other hand feeling, you have the other one, the one that's really beautiful, that already has the fulfillment of what it really wanted. Thanking the old one, wanting such a beautiful, something beautiful that it could, if it would, become. Can you ask that old energy if it's willing to become one with what it truly wants to become? Be absorbed into it. And then invite it in. Because usually it's like, yeah, of course I want to become this beautiful. That was my wish. Let the two merge and meet, and let the higher energy absorb that which wasn't so beautiful, and let it be absorbing itself, that brown or dark, whatever it was, all into itself, until it is expressed in that beautiful new energy. Until the last little bit is absorbed and allowed to blossom, to become that new energy. And let that take a seat within you, and let it ripple through time and space. Let it ripple through the moment where you were, touch the world, the aura, the people around you. You are the master of your evolution. Once you realize that even darker negative states want to evolve to the next level of union, this is the first level of union I wanted to share with you. It is essential that on our spiritual path, we realize that we are not here to avoid incarnation or expression of emotions. We are here to yoke it into union. And yoga of the soul begins with understanding and mastering our physical body as well as our emotional body. And now I invite you on the next step. I'd like you to imagine a masterful, illuminated being. This could be an abstract being or a master being you know in his or her most radiant form, as you also enter your most radiant presence and form of energy. And just as you call this being up, bring this being, him or her, into your presence as you look into his or her eyes in this beautiful dimension. Allow this being to be so supremely pure that in the end you are willing to meet with this being. It could be also a beloved of yours. It could be a soulmate of yours. It could be a master being, an angel, a deity of the highest radiance. Allow yourself to encounter this being and feel their eyes and yours meeting. And now I'd like you to remember how originally I said you can take on this angelic energy form, the master being, but beyond that, imagine a stream of consciousness, of light, of essence, taking you to the source of creation. A still point of a beam, and also your master angelic being, also he or she has this very same line that reaches towards the same center of creation as you. For a moment, just notice that we will make a jump in an octave and allow yourself to find yourself in the moment beyond time-space. As if you go beyond the bardo, beyond nirvana, beyond the pinnacle of the pyramid of duality, into pure presence, pure singularity of your consciousness. While the master being that you had started this journey with also meets with you in the space beyond time-space. It's like the two of you are becoming pure points of consciousness, no form, no shape, isness. As if you were maybe still two diamonds, or maybe you've already overlapped the two diamonds into singularities. Allow the seat of the souls to touch and merge and overlap, to create the lens into complete singularity. And it is almost like we do this, and then like the DNA coil, it bifurcates, and we bring again our attention into singularity. And we come for a split moment into that overlap, into the singularity. And then it bifurcates. It's like we operate with perception. It's like you're glancing into non-duality, and it opens for you the ladder of evolution of consciousness. This is a continuous exercise that I call the yoga of the soul. When you enter that moment, it opens the doorway to allness. And in truth, that is what that book tried to tell me, is when two meet into one, it's the fastest way into enlightenment, into singularity and openness to the one, to all that is. I'd like you to bring that with you as you sit here, watching, listening, closing your eyes or having your eyes open. And remember that being a spiritual being is being a multidimensional being and having that seat of consciousness, active while and as often as you can, having your eyes open, your heart open. You can create the stillness within yourself or have a connection with another being who enters that moment. I remember sitting with Kartikeyan, Dr. Kartikeyan, when we came to visit with him, and he is also one of those saints where that masterful glance holds that state, and his beingness communicates from that dimension. Patrici operates from there and is so humble. I am so grateful to know these two amazing, masterful beings. Srihans, we sit and meditate. He opens and transcends, and I believe that enlightenment is a continuous, I know enlightenment is a continuous journey. It's not a one time, I was there, I got there, and that was it. It is, yes, it's the first time maybe where you got there. But then you create that state again and again and again. And you start operating in your daily life from that space, which then encompasses time and space to the degree of intensity and purity that you can carry at this moment in time. I'm saying goodbye now, and thank you for your time and presence, and wish you all the best. And remember, duality becomes one, and it's becoming the stepping stone to the next evolutionary moment, where that becomes the next moment of duality to become one. The continuous dance of two into one becomes the reflection of God greeting itself within its creation, and the greatest love affair of all. Namaste, and I thank you very much for joining PMC channel here in English and the International Yoga Day in the company of the Pyramid Spiritual Society. Thank you.